everyone, and welcome to the Human Impact Theory. I'm Jacqueline Way, your host and founder of 365 Give. Our mission here is pretty simple. It's to empower you with practical, everyday tools to create a life you love on purpose. Because let's face it, real change is really simple, but it takes practice every day and sometimes even moment by moment. But what we want you to know is when you're happy and you love your life, it's not just good for you. Everyone around you benefits. And that's how each of us can make a really big impact in this world. This February, we're going to shake things up for Valentine's Day with our version of a love illusion. We call it All for Love. It's our campaign, and it starts with each of us, and we need you to all join us. So I've invited a really dear friend of mine to talk about my favorite subject, which is love. World-renowned author and speaker, Neale Donald Walsch. Neale has written over 40 books, and his very first book, when he was 54 years old, is called A Conversation with God. It is a New York Times bestseller. It was on the list for 137 weeks and has been translated into 37 different languages. I've learned more profound insights about love from Neale. Here's what we're going to unpack today. First of all, 3 key myths about love. We got to clear up some of the misconceptions that are out there about love and how we can start looking at it differently. My favorite new line that I learned from this conversation, I love you if. What if we all looked at the conditions that we put on love and we started to move beyond them? Neale's going to tell us a little bit more about that. Next one is how to make love a daily practice. When we said we have to practice it, love is one of those things we need to practice as well. Neale's going to share some practical tips on how to make love actionable and how you can make it how you show up in the world. And lastly, I asked Neale this question that I'm going to ask all of you as well. If love were a person, what would their message be to the world? You won't believe what he says. It's so simple, but you're going to have to listen right to the end to hear it. I am so grateful you have chosen to spend time with me here today, and I'm looking forward to learning and growing about love together. I'm excited to share this with you, so here we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Way, and welcome to the Human Impact Theory. My guest today, as I have already introduced, is the infamous and very funny, as you will soon find out, Neale Donald Walsch. He is a dear friend. I've been blessed to work with him for the past few years and excited to have you to the show today. Neale, welcome to the Human Impact Theory. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's very kind of you to have me here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you what I've been given to share. So thank you for those nice words. How can
You're
I serve
so
you?
welcome. Well, you always serve me, and I know you're here to serve the world as well. And I really want to get started today, and our topic today is all about love. And there's an important reason that I think you are the greatest messenger of this particular topic on love. And I just want to share with everyone, I have Neale's books, and if you haven't read it, Conversation with God. This is book 1. I read this book over 25 years ago. I keep dating myself every time I share that with people. But this book taught me so much about an understanding about love I didn't know before. And Neale, I would really love people. You've been sharing this message for so long. And that's really what I want to get into today with you is what we can learn about love through the messages that you've shared. So are you ready to go?
Perfect. Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay, so I want to start right at the beginning because I think that everybody's life has really pivotal moments that change everything for them. I know I certainly do. I know a lot of your story, but what are those pivotal moments in your own life that really brought you to having a conversation with God? Not everybody claims to do that, but you are the person in this world that has. And I'd love for our listeners to learn from you of really what took you to that moment of time.
Well, I had 3 pivotal moments in the same 10-day period, which is really hard to believe, even for me when I look back on it. But what happened was around 30 years ago or so, my marriage ended, the marriage that I was engaged in at that time. And but it wasn't with lots of anger. We just simply agreed with each other that it wasn't working. So we decided to go our separate ways. We would co-parent the children we had together and and move forward, with a good feelings for each other and still maintain our friendship. Okay, well, I was very sad about that, but I was ready to move forward. But 5 days later, I lost my job. I was downsized by the corporation that I worked for. And I was the last person in their most recent hire. So I was the first person out when they got the order to downsize. They had to cut staff, and I had no seniority. So I was let go in spite of the fact that my immediate superior said that I was one of the best employees that he had. So now here we have, I've lost my relationship and lost my job in the same 10-day period. But wait, life wasn't finished with me yet. 5 days later, I'm driving down the road going to a job interview. And I'm certain I'm going to get the next job because I had great qualifications, terrific experience, and a glowing recommendation from the man who just had to let me go simply because of downsizing. So I know I'm going to get this other job because they're looking for someone with all of my qualifications. But I never got to the job interview because an elderly gentleman made a left turn in front of my car and smashed my car to smithereens. I mean, my car was totaled, and I wound up with a broken neck in the accident. And not just a hairline fracture. I still recall the wording on my medical report. It said that I had suffered a 3/4 inch avulsion fracture of the seventh cervical vertebrae posteriorly. In other words, a break in my neck large enough to put a pencil through.
Wow, that's
When I woke
unbelievable.
up at the hospital, the doctor said to me, "You do understand you shouldn't even be alive. Most people who have that kind of a break in their neck because of spinal cord complications die. If not afterward, immediately, often they die on the spot. And those who don't die, those few who do not die from such a break in their neck, wind up paralyzed from the neck down. Mr. Walsh, you have suffered neither consequence. You're a miracle patient. So what do you intend to do with the rest of your life?" And I mean,
It's
he
got the
put it to me
goosebumps.
very directly. And I thought, well, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but so I realized that I had been given a great gift. But now I had to move forward, and I was given a collar to wear. It was a plastic collar that people with broken necks wear, and it keeps your head supported while your neck is healing. They didn't want to go in and operate. They could have put a filler in, but they said, that often does not work as well as we would like. But if you give it about a month or so, 6 or 8 weeks at the most, your neck will heal itself. The calcium will grow back and so forth. Okay, but you know what? Nobody would hire me. I'm going to job interview after job interview after job interview, and I got all the qualifications, and nobody would hire me. Finally, the seventh interviewer told me the truth. He said, "Mr. Walsh, we'd hire you in a minute if you weren't wearing that therapeutic device around your neck, but we can't hire you while you're wearing that. One false move while you're on the job with us, and we're paying your medical bills for the next 5 years. We come to us when you're fully healthy. We'll hire you in a minute if we still have that opening available." So I realized, I can't get a job anywhere right now. And so, but I couldn't take the collar off because they said you can't take the collar off until your neck is totally healed. So I'm kind of like in a no man's land. And
Like so many Americans and so many people around the world right now, that's their story, that they're just stuck at the moment. So I love that you're sharing this with us, Neil, because it's so relatable for everyone.
and I couldn't pay my rent even though
Oh,
I was
of
renting
course.
just a little one-room apartment. I couldn't even pay the rent after a while because I ran out of my savings and I couldn't get any more income coming in. And I was evicted. The guy hated to do. He said, "I hate to do it, Mr. Walsh, but I got, you've gone 3 months without paying the rent. I've got to ask you to leave. Now I have nowhere to go." I didn't want to go back to my former wife and ask her to take me in. So I thought, well, I can do this. I can just live on the sidewalk, for a couple of tough weeks or a month or so. I can get through this. But it wasn't a couple of tough weeks and it wasn't a couple of bad months. I was out there on the sidewalk for a year of my life. One solid year, sleeping in the rain on the cold ground in the dead of winter. One solid year going from person to person on the sidewalk with my hand out, asking if you could spare even anything, a few coins, a few quarters, maybe a $50, because I knew that if I got enough people saying yes to that request, maybe I could have a hamburger and a bag of French fries before the day was out. And I survived a year in that way. Finally, I got a part-time job a year later. I was still wearing the collar, by the way, but I got a little weekend fill-in job that paid just enough income to allow me to afford a little one-room flat above somebody's garage in somebody's backyard. But hey, it was out of the weather and it actually had a bathroom. I didn't have to relieve myself in the woods somewhere. It was luxury. And so, but I sat down in that one-room flat one morning. I woke up in the dead of night, reading 4:23 in the morning, angry with life, wondering what's going on. I don't understand. So I wrote an angry letter to God. There was a coffee table tablet in front of me. And so I wrote on the tablet because I was, keeping lists of what I wanted to get and how I wanted to move forward. But I write on this tablet, Dear God, what does it take to make life work? What have I done to deserve a life of such endless struggle? And I recall writing, tell me the rules. I'll play this silly game called life. Just give me the rule book because I don't understand what do you want from me? And that's when I heard a voice in my mind. Neale, do you really want answers to all of these questions? Or are you just venting? And I said, yeah, I am venting. But if you've got answers, I'd sure as hell like to know what they are. And the
Okay, so
voice
Neil, hold
came,
on. Before we even go any further, I have to do a little review here for a minute. So you've lost your relationship and not your first. How many times have you been married now in total? I know you've got a brilliant marriage now, but you've been married a few times in the course of your
let me
life.
see, 3 times. No, wait, 4 times. No, I'm sorry,
And
5 times. No, wait, I gotta try for that. How many times have I been married? I've lost count. Oh,
oh, that's
seven
it.
times.
Oh, 7 times. Okay.
Okay,
So 7 marriages. I know
not
one that's
seven
brilliant.
girlfriends, not seven
No,
living
no.
partners, 7 put a ring on their finger marriages.
Yeah, now you know why we're talking to Neil about love.
Yeah, and I'm
So,
not bragging about it. I'm not bragging about it. I'm sad about it because I didn't understand what is going on. What is love? What
right,
is this all about? How does
right.
this work?
We're gonna talk. So you've lost one of your 7 marriages. You've lost your job that you were really great at because you had a brilliant career before you ever even wrote your first book. And Neil, how old were you when you wrote your very first book? Everybody needs to know
Well, it
this.
was 30 years ago, so I guess that's 52,
Right. Okay. So
51.
wrote your first book in your early 50s. So you had a whole life and career before this. You end up in a car accident. You're lucky you're alive, and then you live on the street for a year and you're having now a conversation saying, what the hell is going on? Like, this is reflective to me of so many people right now where we're all sitting here, not we're all sitting here, I shouldn't use that so broadly, but so many times in our lives we go, what the hell's going on? What am I doing wrong? How have I got life wrong? Neil, as you started writing this book and as you started having this conversation with God, this exchange, what are some of the key moments in this book, in this conversation that you need to share with us today?
Well, I don't need to share
No, you're
anything
right.
with you.
You don't. We would like to hear. I would like to hear. What
No,
do we need to
let me
learn
place this
through these
all
books?
let me place all that I'm going to say within the context. My most recent marriage, and I'm not joking about it because I'm ashamed to say, but it is my 7th marriage. But this marriage has lasted 17 years.
Right.
And for me, that's a record. That's unbelievable. But it's because of what I learned
Mm.
about love as a result of my previous failures and as a result of my wonderful, wonderful conversation with God. But
So that
what I've learned,
sorry, go ahead.
what I've learned about love is that we have so much that's wrong, you know, about love.
We have love
What,
wrong? Really?
yeah, what do we have wrong about love? Most people, you know, in my experience, there are some pervasive myths that
Ew.
we have about love that we need to rethink.
Okay, let's
If you
talk
don't
about
mind,
these myths
if you
about
don't
love. I
mind
would
my,
love to hear them.
yeah, well, the most
I'm
pervasive,
getting my pen. Get your pen out, everybody, a piece of paper. I think we better start writing these down. Go ahead, Neil. I'm ready for you.
the most pervasive myth that I've noticed about love, because I saw it in my own life over and over and over again, and I see it now in the lives of others as well. The most pervasive myth about love that I observe is that we think that love is a quid pro quo. We think that love is like a trade deal, like trade deals between nations. You know, you give me this, I'll give you that. I'll trade you this, you trade me that. So we think that love is a quid pro quo, tit for tat. I'll give you this, you give me that. And a huge myth about love is that God's love is the same, that God's love is conditional. Many people who believe in God believe that God says, I love you if. But if you
Mm.
break any of my rules, then I'm not going to love you anymore. In fact, I'm going to have to punish you after judging you, and I'm going to have to send you to everlasting damnation. And so we think, oh, well, if it's good enough for God to love that way, it's good enough for me to love that way. So we love each other the way we have been told that God loves us. That is,
I
I
love you.
love you if.
I love
But
that.
if I
I
don't,
love
but if
you
I don't, if I
if.
don't, if I don't get back from you what I think I should be getting back in return for what I'm giving you, the deal is off. We're done. We're done.
And so
So,
when we're in relationship, can I just ask this quick question? When we're in relationship with others, we have that with others, don't we? It's a really, I'll love you if when I do this, you do this.
of course,
When
we have that with
I
others. That's
love
the whole point I'm
you,
making.
or right, when I make your meals for you, or I raise the children, or I earn the money, whatever that is, there's these expectations that come along with love.
To put it mildly,
Right. And that's really where we get stuck on love, isn't it, Neil?
that's yes, yes.
It's
You know,
the expectations of love.
you know what's interesting about this, Jacqueline? You know, I think I'm loving the other person when I love them in kind of a trade deal relationship. But the truth is, I'm loving myself through them. I'm allowing
Mm.
myself to feel what love brings to me because we have an arrangement that this other person will give me this if I give them that. So again, to make the point, in my own life, I've always thought, well, love is it's fair. It's only fair. Love is a trade arrangement. And that's how God loves us. When we do what God wants, he loves us. And when we don't do what God wants, he judges us and condemns us and punishes us. And that's exactly the way we undertake our human relationships.
I need to go back to something, and I don't know if everybody else caught on that, but I want to go back to something you just said about love coming through us, that when we're in relationship with another, it's this opportunity for love to come through us. Can you explain that more, Neil? What does that mean that the love's coming through us? I thought that, when we are in relationship with another person, people go out looking for love all the time, right? We flip through our phones now going looking for love. There's apps for this. What do you mean love? Like there are experience of love coming through us? Give me some more on
Well,
that.
I have the experience that love is an essential part of who I am. And it's
Mm.
part of the energy of life, if I could put it metaphorically. And so when we've all experienced the anger coming through us. We've all experienced the emotion of frustration coming through us. We've all experienced the feeling of wisdom coming through us when we say something that's very helpful to another. So these are energies that we experience coming through us. And of course, we experience love coming through us. But you know what? Interestingly enough, pure love, we experience that coming through us when we love our dog or our cat or our horse, because we can somehow love the animals, the pets around us with more unconditionality than we can love the person on the pillow next to us.
It's funny. I was just thinking about that with my cat this morning. She was curled up around me. It was exactly that. It was that beautiful experience of just unconditional love coming through me. I didn't expect her to do anything. I needed nothing from her. She could just be curled up right around me, and I was as happy as I could be.
Yeah. And that's the way I now feel about my wife.
Mm.
And she's the kitten of my life.
That's
I was going to
hard.
use another word for kitten, but I won't use it here.
I pre-warned y'all, he's got this great sense of humor. We always love that it comes through. Okay, so Neale, I've got to back up on this one because there are podcasts, there are so many books and things we can listen to and ways that we can learn about love, but I feel like there's a big shift that just went on there. And so you're talking about these myths. I'm so enthralled with each one of these myths now, because I see them coming through my own life in so many ways. What is there any other myths you need to share before I'm going to ask you the biggest question about love?
I think that we do have some things right about love. It's not like we don't have
Okay.
anything right.
All right. That's good
We,
to
we
hear.
do we do understand that we do have a clear understanding that love is the most wonderful feeling in the world, and that it's the most wonderful gift that we can give and receive. And we also understand, most people understand that love can heal all wounds. It's not like we're dense with understanding, and that we don't know how love can work. But I think that I have difficulty finding the courage to step into our fullest understanding of what true love is.
So give
And
it to us, Neil. If we have some things right about love, what do we have wrong about true love? Uh-oh, he's laughing, everyone.
well, we think that we're supposed to be compensated, as I said a minute ago.
All
What
right.
we have wrong about true love is we think, I'm going to repeat myself, that love is a tit for tat relationship, a quid pro quo. I'll give you this, you give me that. And that's what we have wrong about love. In my view, it's what I had wrong in my first 6 marriages. All kidding aside, I thought, yeah, and they ended because I didn't think that I was receiving what I should be receiving, given what I was, providing for the other person. So, but the reason that my present marriage has lasted 17 years is I asked for nothing back. That is, I required. I should be more clear. I won't say that I asked for nothing back, but I require nothing back. So my present wife understands that she's not required in any way to perform in any way in order to hold on to my love. And that's what, the biggest impact of the misconceptions that we have about love is the failure of relationships. That's the impact that this misunderstanding creates. Relationships are failing all over the world. Relationships between people, between nations, between races, between religions, our relationships with each other are failing because we think that love is supposed to be quid pro quo. You give me this, I'll give you that. I'll give you that, you give me this. But that's not what true love, that's not what pure love is all about. And that's how we can transform our lives by understanding, not simply understanding what pure love is all about, but by actually acting out our understanding, by deciding, I love you no matter what. Because this is the way God loves us, and we can't, but you know what's sad? Jacqueline, what's so sad is we can't believe in a God who says, I love you no matter what. We
I think we have
still
a hard
believe,
time of anybody believing that of anyone in this world these days.
yeah. And if we do believe in God, we believe in a God who says, I love you if you're Catholic, or if you're Jewish, or if you're Muslim, or if you're Buddhist, or if you're Black, or if you're white, or if you're whatever, gay, or if you're straight, or whatever, you got to meet certain requirements. And you can't Color outside the lines. If you color outside the lines, you're going straight to hell. And so we treat each other the same way. And that's what can happen when we transform our love and put it into action. What can happen is all of those failures in our relationships disappear. I've learned that in the past 17 years with my present wife, because I just simply stopped requiring anything in return.
Mm. Okay, that's our practice right there, everyone. Did you hear that? We need to stop this is going to be my favorite new line. I love you if. I think there's another book in You Still Neil, and I think it needs to be called that. I love you if. I love that.
Yeah.
You wrote a book a few years back. It was one of my favorites. And it's called The God Solution, The Power of Love. Can you tell us about the God solution? What does the God solution have to do with love?
Well, I noticed how the world was functioning, and I've described much of that here in the past few moments. And I realized, well, there must be a solution to all of this.
Mm.
And then
Keep
I
thinking
was,
so.
yeah, and then I was inspired by God to express, okay, the solution is really quite simple. We have to create a new definition of God.
Mm.
So the God Solution is a book in which I created the possibility of sharing a new definition of who and what God is. So I now define God in two words: pure love. Pure love. When I say this in front of an audience, somebody inevitably gets up and says, "Oh, Neale, I've been listening to you for 20 minutes to tell me that God is love." Everybody knows that God is love. Even religions that differ in doctrine all agree that God is love. And I have to say to my audience member, wait a minute. I didn't say God is love. I said God is pure love. And my person in the audience will say, okay, what's the difference? And we've been discussing the difference here now on this program for the past 7 or 8 minutes. The difference is pure love needs, expects, requires, and demands nothing in return.
Mm.
And so we have to step outside of our theological boundary lines. We have to be willing to embrace a God who says, I love you no matter what. Nothing can stop me from loving you, and I will never send you to everlasting damnation simply because you misunderstood or made a mistake or don't understand who and what you are and what is true about love. So God loves us the way we love our children, at least the way we love them until they're around
You're a
8 or 9.
teenager until they talk, right? I got three of those, I know.
Yeah, but, because God realizes that we're all acting like 2-year-olds.
Right. Literally, right?
And God doesn't judge us for acting like a 2-year-old. God understands that we have a 2-year-old's mentality,
Mm. About love.
that our emotional maturity is at the level of a 2-year-old.
Hmm. Ooh, did that hit everybody? Did you hear that? And it's true, we can go back and, when we replay our relationships over and over in our head, things the other person did wrong, the ways that we blame, the ways that we shame, everything's always the other person's fault. That really is that 2-year-old coming out, having a temper tantrum, blaming everything about love on another person, when we tend not to always look at ourselves and what part and what role we're playing in that relationship, that exchange, as you said, because, it's really us standing there saying, exactly what you said. We have expectations of others that they can't always meet. We can't possibly expect everyone to meet all of our expectations of what love is to us, or what we expect others or how we expect them to show up as well. So, Neale, if love is, I love you no matter what. We've all heard this and through different religions. You've even expressed this before, that we're a child of love. or sorry, we're look at I've already replaced it. We're a child of God. So that really makes all of us pure love, or a part of us pure love. Is that true?
Of
Did
course
you
it's
learn that?
true. Of course it's true. Unconditional love is who and what you are. It's who and what God is. And because there's no separation between God and us, because each of us is simply an individual expression of the divine, we are, in fact, what love is. And that's why love feels so natural to us. You know, how we feel it in a natural way before we get our mind in between there and start thinking what I should be getting out of this. Well, there's something I should be getting out of this. But when we take the mind out of it and stop thinking in terms of our own personal advantage and what it is, you know, but you see what we have to do if we want to get to that place is eliminate the thought that we need anything in particular. I mean, that we need something emotionally from the other person. So need is the first illusion of humans. It's the first of
Mm.
the 10 illusions of humans. The idea that I need, no, you don't understand. I need certain things from you emotionally. And if I don't get those things, then, you know, I can't love you.
Or I'm not
Or
okay, right?
totally not okay. And I certainly can't
Right.
stay with you and spend my life with you. So I have discovered that that's not the way God treats us. God loves us no matter what.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I thought, okay, if I really am an individual expression of God, by the way, this is what's interesting. Most of the world's religions say the one thing they agree on is the statement, you are made in the image and likeness of God.
Right.
Wow. Religion actually tells us you're made in the image and likeness of God. But if our
Mm.
understanding of the image and likeness of God is inaccurate, if we think that God is judgmental, condemning, and punishing, then being made in that image is not serving us, which is why the world is the mess that the world is.
Mm.
But once we
Right.
become clear, once we are accurate in our understanding of who and what God is, suddenly our relationship with all the rest of life changes. But it's not that we haven't been told about this. Every spiritual master, every spiritual guru, every chief ulama, every head rabbi, every pope, every archbishop of Canterbury, every religious and spiritual teacher from the beginning of time, practically through thousands of years, right up to these days and times, has said the same thing.
Thing.
One guy put it really succinctly about 2,000 years ago. He made it very clear. He said, love, love, love your enemies even, and pray for those who persecute you. And if a man slaps you on the right cheek, turn and offer him your left. And if a man steals your coat, give him your shirt as well.
Mm.
And if a man demands that you walk 1 mile with him, go with him 20. We were given these simple insights and these wonderful instructions by every one of the world's teachers of spiritual truth for the past more than 2,000 years, way before even Jesus was born. The same things have been said to us. The question is, what would it take for us to hear the message
Mm.
and then to live into the message and then to be a demonstration of the message? In my case, what it took was 6 failed marriages. I'm so sorry. I don't laugh about that because I'm sorry for the pain that I caused those 6 other people.
Absolutely.
I regret it deeply, deeply regret it. But at least it brought me to a place of clarity that I might share with others.
And look what it's done. As much as it may have caused pain to both of you and your past relationships, what a gift it's been for all of us. Neale, I have a question. that I want to ask you to help us all. We have heard this from the spiritual leaders. I've heard this from you so many times, and every time I hear it from you, I still get something new. It still hits my heart. It changes my mind in a way that I don't always hear. Maybe that's the way to say it. And today it's hit me again in a different way. What can people do to start practicing this? You mentioned earlier, we take action out in the world. So we're human beings. We're not all spiritual gurus. We all haven't mastered our minds at this point in our life. What can we do to create a practice to do this every day in our life so that that love does come through us? Who we truly are comes through us in everything we do.
Three things. Number one, remember
Right.
who you are.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Okay.
Remember who you are, that you are not your body and not your mind. These are simply tools that you've
Mm,
been given to complete the agenda of who you really are, which is a spiritual entity. So remember who you are as a spiritual being.
being.
You are the
Spiritual
soul. You are a
being.
soul.
You are a
That's
spiritual being here.
yes,
You are a
yes.
spirit being here.
And you have an
I
agenda.
really want people to hear this, right? You are a living spirit being here on planet Earth. I love that,
And
Neil.
you
That
have
was
an
so good.
agenda. That's why we're called human beings, not
Mm,
human doings.
right. Right.
So our agenda is to be a demonstration, an expression of who we truly are, an individuation of divinity.
Mm.
So that's the first step that we can take in answer to your question.
Can I ask you this? Could we also word that an expression of love then? Would that make sense
Of
from
course,
everything we've talked about today?
yes, of course.
Thank you.
And the second thing that I would say that we could do to really make it practical and workable in our lives, to make it functional, all these kinds of concepts, to turn them into functional realities, is to think of an interesting question. What is the interaction I'm having right now with another?
Mm.
Is the last word I will speak on this planet Earth. What if I wasn't going to say another thing following the exchange I'm currently having with this other person? If this were my final word on the planet Earth, what would I choose for it to be? Would it matter to me to say, no, no, you've got it wrong. That's not what happened. No, no, you've got it wrong. You're not saying it right. Or stop talking to me that way. Or blah, 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 blah. All the things that I said for so
All
many
the things
years.
we say, right?
You know,
All the things we all say. Mm.
but if I thought it was the last word that would be uttered by me to another, especially if it was another person that I've already said that I love,
Mhm.
what would the last word be? Even if they were misbehaving in that moment, and by misbehaving, I mean doing something that we didn't welcome. Even if they were, interacting with us in a way that we were not appreciating, what would be the final word that we would want to say?
I love you
And
came right through me. That's what keeps coming through me and through me.
yeah, and you can't stop me no matter what you do.
Mm.
I love you, and you can't stop me from loving you no matter what you do. And the third tool that I love to suggest to people is what I call life's magic question that I ask myself.
I want this one. Write this one down, Britt.
What does this have to do with the agenda of my
Mm.
soul? When I'm involved in an interaction with somebody else, whoever it might be, my life partner, my children, the man across the street, the lady at the supermarket, the person in the coffee shop, whoever it might be, whenever I'm interacting with someone and the interaction is not going well, it may be going a little bit south, so to speak. It's not being the most pleasant interaction. The first thing that I ask myself is, what does this have to do with the agenda of my soul?
Mm.
Ah, that places the entire interaction into a whole new context. And I get to decide as a result of what's occurring who I really am. Because the agenda of my soul is to demonstrate in each golden moment of now the grandest thought I ever had about that other person and about myself and about life.
I love that. Those were amazing. So let's just quickly do a review on those. Remember who you are. We are an expression of love. That is our agenda here in this world. We are in spirit form. We are a reflection and a child of God, which is an expression of love. So thank you for that one, Neale. And the last one, what does this have to do with the agenda of our soul? And that puts us right there in the present moment and looking at the situations that we're in so differently. I love that so much, Neale. Neale, you've already done this, but I want to not only invite you, your answer, I'm going to invite this question to all of our listeners as well. And my final question to you today is this, is if love was a person, what would their message be to the world right now? What would that message be to the world? What would love say?
I am you.
Ooh, that was so good. That was so good. I want to hear back from everybody listening. What was your answer? Put it in the comments. We want to hear today what your answer was to that question. And did you get Neale's? I am you. My dear friend, you you allow me and give me perspective when I always needed in my own life. I know that everyone that is watching, I don't care how many times they've seen you, how many different shows, how many times they've been able to follow you, they're going to hear something different today, as I did as well. You are such a beautiful gift to this world. Thank you for sharing the messages of God and love with us, not only here, but through all of your books. So Neale hasn't just written a few books about a conversation with God. Neale has now 40 books published under his name that he has shared with the world. I encourage you to go find Neale. He's so easy. It's a quick little Google search, Neale Donald Walsch. You can't miss him. He'll take up pages and pages on Google or ChatGPT or wherever you use it. Work and study his work. It's worth it. Read his books. He is always available to everyone. Neale, you do something really unique on your Facebook page. You're on your Facebook page. Your Facebook page has 1 million some odd followers. And you actually make yourself accessible to people. How can people have a connection with you further? It's the beautiful way that I met you on Clubhouse when we first met, is you always take that approach of, I want people to be able to come and talk to me. When I used to have authors that you used to follow, you wish you could have had a conversation with them. I feel so blessed that I've been able to have these conversations with you. How can people come and still have conversations with you?
Well, I've created a website called cwgconnect.com.
Okay. We'll put that right
CWG, of
in
course,
down
stands
below for
for
everybody as well.
Conversations with God. So at cwgconnect.com, I'm available 3 times a day. I go there 3 times a day and
Wow.
answer questions and enter into written dialogue with people as well twice a week. I create face-to-face conversations, just like we're having right here
I love this.
in the
I'm
advanced
coming.
integration program. And so if people go to CWG Connect, I can tell them how they can access twice a week, Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, where I interact one-on-one with people
Beautiful.
visually, like we are right now doing here,
Amazing.
because I want people to feel that they can access
Mm.
the messages that I've been given to share on a regular basis. So cwgconnect.com is where you can find me. And then click on the Ask Neale icon, and we'll have a platform on which we can chat with each other.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for being so accessible to everyone in the world. You're going to see all of these links below. You're going to be able to access them there. Neale's website, his Connect website. I encourage you to go and learn from him. My learning never stops. My friend, I love you. Thank you. And I'll look forward to more and more time with you.
Thank you, Martha. Those are very sweet words to hear from you. And I take them in with humility and gratitude. Thank you so much and for the chance to be here with you. Thank you for that as well.
You're welcome. Goodbye, everyone.